And now for a taste of things to come.
A great slam and then some. It's on.
It's time for the new Game On podcast. We're celebrating our favorite games.
Falcon Punch!
Mamma mia!
Finish him!
It's a little bit of the old,
You're good, but I'm better.
a little bit of the new,
I am assuming direct control.
and everything in between.
But enough talk. How about you?
Let's get things started.
Get more from your gaming habit with Jeff Johnson.
Game on! Game on! Game on!
And it's time once again. It is the new Game On podcast. I am Jeff Johnson, your host of Game On, the host of the Game On podcast. And it is a dark and stormy night that we are broadcasting to you here today. Well, not exactly night, it's more mid-afternoon and kind of half light, half dark and stormy, kind of where we're at. Anyway, there's a thunderstorm rolling in. So if you hear big cracks of thunder or anything, like if anything goes wrong with the podcast, blame the thunderstorm. That's basically where we're at. It's episode 13, Gotta Catch 'Em All, and it's called that because, yep, we're talking about Pokemon. The Isle of Armor DLC came out the day of episode 12. Last week's episode, the Isle of Armor DLC came out, and that's all we've been playing since then. So basically, in today's episode, I'm talking Pokemon. We're talking about the announcement of Pokemon Unite, a new MOBA for Switch. That announcement came earlier today. And like I said, we're also talking about the Isle of Armor and what the new DLC for Sword and Shield does right. I'm really enjoying it, and there's a lot to talk with you about there. Speaking of lots to talk about, we're diving into the big news about Mixer today. Microsoft announced Monday they are closing the streaming service and partnering with Facebook to transition the Mixer streaming community to Facebook gaming. And as you can tell by all the stories around it, if you look it up, holy cow, there's a firestorm around that one. And we also didn't dive into any other games this week, but some new games joined the collection because of sales and Father's Day. We're going to be talking briefly about Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, Super Bomberman R, and Luigi's Mansion 3 today as well. So that's our lineup for this week's episode. This is the new Game On podcast. I am Jeff Johnson, and thank you for joining us this week.
You know what they say, when life hands you lemons.
Do a barrel roll!
And when you want to know about your favorite games, listen to Game On with Jeff Johnson.
This is Quentin Flynn here, but you may remember me as Raiden. And you're listening to Game On.
You're listening to the new Game On podcast. Now back to the couch with Jeff Johnson. And it is the new Game On podcast, episode 13. Thank you for joining us once again this week. I am Jeff Johnson, and if you want to find us, you can find us on Spreaker and a host of other podcasting apps. Anchor especially. Anchor is a fantastic platform, and I've been happy to be involved on that. Spreaker as well, just because of the capability to do these live podcasts. So be sure to check out both of those podcast apps if you're looking for places to share your podcasts. Also, you can find us on youtube.com/GameOnGNT, facebook.com/GameOnGNT, and I would say Mixer, but Mixer's not exactly a viable option anymore. So we'll be talking about that a little bit later on. Right now, I want to stick with happier news. Let's talk about Pokemon. So, right off the bat, we only got one announcement today from the Pokemon companies. Basically, they did another one of their sort of Pokemon Company Presents videos today, and only one game announcement today, and it's something that nobody ever heard of, and I'm pretty sure nobody even really wanted. So basically, Pokemon Unite is the game that was announced today. It's a streaming. It is a MOBA game, mobile. I can't even remember what MOBA stands for, but basically, you work together in teams of 5. You play as one Pokemon on this team of 5, and your goal is to get more points before the end of the battle than the other team does to win out. It's 5 versus 5 play. And we've seen this with games like League of Legends or Dota or Smite is another one. But basically, I was not expecting to hear today about a League of Legends style Pokemon game. I'm more disappointed about the fact of what games didn't get announced, and to me, I think it's just because we're due for another remake of a past Pokemon game. Stuff like Fire Red, Leaf Green, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Alpha Sapphire, Omega Ruby. It's time for the Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum remake because, to me, all of those games that I was just talking about were great games for their Pokemon generations, but we've yet to see something similar come out for the fourth generations of games. And to me, this is a great opportunity to see the remake of those games simply because it was a solid entry into the series, and it's over a decade old at this point, making it great timing to get into a new generation of gamers into Sinnoh. And also, it gives us a chance to connect the past generation to the new form of Pokemon storage with Pokemon Home. Because, I mean, in that generation of games, you had access to about 470 different Pokemon. I know because I almost caught every single Pokemon in that generation. And it gives us an opportunity to have that opportunity once again with Pokemon Home. So I would love to see that happen. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case for today. I'm sure that, this game's going to be good. I'm sure it's going to be decent because if they're attaching the Pokemon name to anything, it's got to be decent, but it's just not what I'm looking for. I'll tell you something that I was looking for, though. The Isle of Armor DLC. Holy cow, I've been addicted to this thing over the past week. It came out during our last episode, episode 12 of the podcast, and just having the opportunity to dive back into Sword and Shield with gusto has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed what the Isle of Armor has brought to the table. Now, like I said, I've spent the last week playing the DLC. I think it's incredibly well done and definitely worth playing if you are a Pokemon fan and already have the Shield and Sword games, or Shield and Sword, like I crazily do every Pokemon generation. Seriously, I gotta start just cutting out buying both games of the generation. It's a little bit too much. But here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go over what I feel stands out about this DLC to me, because there is a lot of good here. First thing I want to talk about is just the large map to traverse here. The Isle of Armor is huge, and honestly, it feels even larger than the wild area from the main game. I know that the wild area in the main game was really, really big, but this just feels bigger simply because of the fact that every part of it is built up with something different. There's different types of lands and terrains to travel through. There's 3 different cave networks that are set up in here. All the different river systems connect through the different areas. And it just feels like you're exploring this large wilderness that's there. Plus, also the surrounding ocean is an entire area that can be explored as well, with little islands all around it. So that's something that didn't really happen with the other wild area. Yes, there is sort of a difference in terrain as you go, but most of the differences in terrain that happen are largely because of the weather system. I found that a lot of the different areas, a lot of the different biomes that are there in the main wild area for Sword and Shield are largely because of the fact that the weather changes up how it feels, how it looks. And it's not because of the land itself. So looking at that, just going into this area though, when you go to the sort of wetlands area, the ground is different. The type of Pokemon you run into there is different. Everything about the feel of it is different. Going into the forested area, it feels like you're going through a forested area. It's like you're lost in a forest network. From there, you've got the Challenge Road, which is up in the mountain area. It feels like mountainous terrain. You're actually in mountains. And that was something that you didn't do in the Sword and Shield area. There are mountains surrounding large parts of the wild area there, but you're never actually in them. This one actually does put you there. And of course, oceans feel vast. So, yes, you're traveling on little lakes and ponds and streams in the main Sword and Shield wild area, but the ocean, when you go on it, it feels like you are on an ocean, and that is really neat to me. The other thing I found that was different about this, one thing that actually didn't happen in the sort of wild area in the main game, is they've actually integrated the story of the DLC into all of the various places throughout the Isle of Armor. So, taking that large landscape we see in this wild area and actually giving it some depth. So, like, basically, right off the bat, you get thrown into a trial that you have to do as part of the dojo here, and you're going to an area of the wild area where you see characters have been put into place. You see that the Pokemon you're chasing are actually wandering around that area, and it just adds some replayability to it. It just adds some viability to this area. And then from there, the next thing you have to do is make it to the sort of cave system where the Max Mushroom is growing, and it is a full exploration to get there. Plus, you run into boss battles while you're out there. Well, not boss battles, but Pokemon trainer battles while you're out there. And that, to me, just adds value here. Plus, like, the other thing about it is that there are plenty of new Pokemon to catch. This is something that they were promising when they first mentioned that the DLC was going to be there. A lot of old favorites are back. I mean, I've caught Alakazam again. I caught Zoroark. I know that Magnezone is wandering around out there. There's a giant Wailord just greeting you as soon as you get off of the bus terminal. Like, there is a ton of different Pokemon that you run into. One of the most annoying of those is the Sharpedos. I love the fact that they're there because it adds some comedy to it, for one thing. But the fact that Sharpedo is back is great. The fact that I have to fight off a Sharpedo every 2 minutes is almost worse than having to deal with Zubats when you're going through caves like in Mount Moon back in the old days. It's annoying as hell, but I love the fact that you have to try and get away from these sharks chasing you as you're swimming through the oceans. So in that regard, it's really neat to see. And yeah, from what I understand of this, the new Pokédex is about 210, 216 Pokemon, something around there. I can't remember the exact number because I didn't write that one down. Of course I didn't. But basically, new Pokédex of about 210. I think about 100 of those are new Pokemon. And the fact that you can actually run into fully evolved Pokemon involving trade items or even trade evolution Pokemon in the wild area just gives more value to it. And the last thing I want to talk about here is just the side content that's available in the Isle of Armor. There is good side content here. One thing that I found neat was the fact that there are 151 Digletts hidden around the island. Some easy to find, some definitely not. I definitely have not found all of them. I'm sitting at about 60 of them right now. And it's kind of annoying because basically it's a fetch quest, but at the same time, it's a chance to sort of unlock a lot of the different Alolan form Pokemon that appeared in Sun and Moon, which is really cool. And also this gives the opportunity to get the starter Pokemon from Sun and Moon if you hadn't played those games. So really good for them to do that thing. It kind of reminds me of how Pokemon Stadium for the N64 worked, where like if you beat certain challenges or if you beat certain cups, you unlocked different Pokemon like Eevee and stuff like that you could transfer back into the main game. That's the feeling I get from that. Also, the mushroom growing mechanic drives me nuts. I'm just going to say it right now. I know it's side content. I know basically the way it works is you do the max raids, and from there you can actually get these max mushrooms to grow, which then lets you Gigantamax Pokemon, finally giving us an item to turn our regular Dynamax Pokemon into Gigantamax Pokemon. That is a great thing. I just wish they made it easier to do. Max Soup, that's what I was just mentioning there. And of course, the dojo building thing. For people who don't buy the Watts items throughout the wild areas, this gives you a new way to spend your Watts. And basically what it does is just pump up what's available at the dojo. Personally, I think some of the prices are steep for what they are, but it's neat. It's new. It's good. It's a good thing to have. Anyway, that's all I've got on the Pokemon topic. If you are debating getting the expansion pass, if you're debating getting the DLC for Shield and Sword, it's worth it. It's a lot of fun. I would definitely do it. Anyway, when we come back, we're going on a bit of a down note. We're going to be talking about Mixer and its inevitable shutdown July 22nd. I'm Jeff Johnson. This is the new Game On podcast.
Hi, this is John St. John, but you might know me better as...
Oh, we are losing our internet connection. Oh, it's back. It's back. We've got our internet connection again. That's good. Anyway, it's funny how I was talking about podcast connections as we were losing our internet connection, but there you go. Anyway, let's talk about one of the big news from the week. Mixer shutting down July 22nd. I'm not going to dive too much into the situation that came up before the announcement on Monday. I'm sure you've seen the Fire Natalia Domingo hashtag. I'm sure you're following along with a lot that's going on worldwide right now, addressing racism in various industries, addressing basically almost Me Too movements in a way with all the different industries that are going on right now. And I've been following the whole situation with Milan Lee and the details he released on racism within Mixer. And I'm definitely not an expert on this topic. Let's be honest here. My best suggestion would be to go to the Milan K. Lee Twitter account. That's MILANKLEE. That's his Twitter account. Follow all the documents there to read up on the situation yourself. It goes without saying, racism cannot and will not be supported. This can't happen anymore. Racism cannot be supported. And here's hoping Microsoft just addresses the complaints that have been brought up. Those responsible can be fired, hence the Fire Natalia Domingo hashtag, and the whole situation there can be dealt with. Anyway, while all of that was going on, Microsoft dropped the bomb on Monday that they were partnering with Facebook and will be shutting down Mixer as of July 22nd. All Mixer links are going to be redirecting to Facebook Gaming. All Mixer partners will be granted status on Facebook Gaming, and all Mixer streamers will be given the choice of where they want to go. Big name Mixer streamers, well, they used to be Twitch streamers, but big name Mixer streamers like Shroud and Ninja, who had been bought by Microsoft to be on the platform, they got totally paid out for their contracts that they had based on this news. So they just got themselves a multi-million-dollar payday, which is insane. It's absolutely insane to think about. And honestly, this is huge news. The writing has definitely been on the wall for Mixer for quite some time, though. I mean, let's face it, Mixer has nowhere near the traffic of Twitch and YouTube, and nowhere near the support Facebook already has. So now there will be one less player in the game for streaming. Now, right off the bat, I just want to address how does the Mixer shutdown affect GameOnGNT? And to be honest, it really doesn't. We've done some streaming to Mixer, but personally, I've just largely used Mixer as an easy way to record footage of games on my Xbox One. I'd live stream that gameplay, rip the past streams video off of my profile, and then use clips from that to make videos over the past year or so. And I mean, I've had some fun just sort of playing through full games through Mixer. I actually had somebody who was following me while I was doing a playthrough of, what the heck game was that? I am drawing a blank on the title of that game now. The one where you're playing as a block and you're moving, and, you know, all the blocks are different AIs. Anyway, that game, I just can't remember what the name of it is right off the top of my head. But I played other games on there, like I went through all, holy cow, I am terrible with names today. I played through maybe about 4 or 5 different games, just streaming it on Mixer, and it's been fun. And like I said, I just basically ripped those past streams off my profile and away I go. And I haven't done that often, but it was a great way to get footage for videos. And I had been debating starting up a regular live stream of gameplay on a weekly basis, as honestly, it's just easier than the setup I had to record videos for YouTube. Now, though, definitely not going to be streaming anything significant to Mixer anytime soon, because let's face it, it's going to be gone. It's going to be completely gone. I'm hoping, though, that this news will make it easier to stream content from my Xbox to other platforms. Like, I really hope that we get to see like a Twitch app or a YouTube app or a Facebook Live app that allows for direct streaming to those services, similar to what they did with Mixer. Because, I mean, say what you will about Mixer, though, having broadcast integration directly into the Xbox One was amazing and really simplified that aspect of streaming content. If Microsoft is able to make a similar setup in an Xbox app that can stream directly to Twitch, Facebook Gaming, or YouTube, or even stream to all three of them at the same time, sign me up. I am there. I would be more than happy to give that a go. Personally, though, I feel this opens up a lot of opportunities for streaming from Xbox going ahead, and I'm all for that. I think it's terrible what's happened to all the streamers who had already built up communities on Mixer, and the fact that they're now forced to choose where they have to go. I mean, yes, they're getting about a month's notice on this, but you can't give a month's notice on 3 years of work building up communities. That's just terrible. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the whole Mixer issue. Holy cow, well, we've spent this much time already. That's my thoughts on the whole Mixer issue. When we come back, I've got a few games that I'm going to sort of touch on. I picked up a couple of games through sales and through some Father's Day gifts. So we'll talk about that when we come back. This is the new Game On podcast on, wow, a couple of different sources. This is the new Game On podcast. I'm Jeff Johnson.
You're listening to Game On.
Tremble in fear at our 3 different kinds of ships.
Hey, this is David Hayter. I'm the voice of Solid Snake, and you're watching Game On. So pay some damn attention.
Game On, your new favorite podcast on today's drive to work.
Mamma mia!
We set high standards here. Here's Jeff.
And it's the new Game On podcast. I am Jeff Johnson. Thank you once again for listening. You can find us obviously on your favorite streaming platforms. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook. Not going to find us on Mixer, though. Whoo, boy. I still can't believe that happened this week. Couple of big games that I've picked up over the last week. I've noticed there was a sale on the Switch, and I wanted to jump in on a couple of games there because there's some good titles that were available through that sale. And also, Father's Day happened, so my family actually pitched in and got me a Switch gift card. So that was kind of awesome, actually. Thank you very much to my family for that. And the funny thing about that is when I get a gift of, like, say, a gaming gift card from younger members of my family, like in this case, I got this gift from my kids and my wife. I want to make sure it's a game that we can all play together and enjoy together. And so with that gift card, I ended up picking up Luigi's Mansion 3. And I mentioned about the sales that I was seeing on the Switch earlier. I picked up Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle for $20 and Super Bomberman R for $20. Now, reasons I picked up this game, it's going to be pretty quick. We're near the end of the episode here anyways. But here's my whole thoughts on these 3 games. Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, essentially to me, is like the light version of XCOM. And a good friend of mine, Kyle Bourne, he has talked endlessly about XCOM games to me, and also was praising Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle as a great strategy RPG. To me, $20 definitely is worth it for a great strategy RPG. So that's why I picked that up. Super Bomberman R, I've been a fan of Bomberman games for years. Super Bomberman and Super Bomberman 2, both of them for the SNES were fantastic. And I also liked it back when it was on the Nintendo, the Game Boy, pretty much every system under the sun. Super Bomberman R is the one that came out for Switch pretty much right when the Switch launched. And I've been meaning to pick this game up for quite a while. I've just been looking for it at the right price. $20 was that price. And Luigi's Mansion 3. To me, Luigi's Mansion is a fantastic game. It's a bit underrated. Good quality game, lots of fun. I really enjoyed it for GameCube. I've also got it for the 3DS as well. Luigi's Mansion 3 was just recently came out this year, and I've been meaning to pick it up again. And so the gift card came my way from my family. So, kids, we're going to be playing Luigi's Mansion 3. And what do I like about it? Well, it's just quirky fun. You know, get the vacuum cleaner. Let's play Ghostbusters with Luigi. Have some fun with that. So these are 3 games I'm going to be playing at some point. again, they get added to the long backlog of games that we have. And if you go to our GG app, you'll see what I mean. It's just absolutely ridiculous how many games we have in our collection, because I am a sucker for sales, as you can tell. So hopefully I get a chance to play these games, and I'll get a chance to talk with you about it in a future episode. In the meantime, I am Jeff Johnson. Thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to you hearing me next week. You've been listening to the new Game On podcast with Jeff Johnson. You can find more content from Game On Facebook and on youtube.com/GameOnGNT. And don't forget to check us out on Spreaker for all your podcast needs. You can also find our Mixer channel. You know what? I think I'm just beating a dead horse at this point.